Hello and welcome to the Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we will be analysing the important news appearing in the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 1st September 2019. The topics to be discussed today are reflected on your screen and the timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. So let's begin. Now this news appears on page number 14 and it reads, "What is the economy behind e-vehicle batteries?" Hence, in our discussion of this article, our focus will be on e-vehicles. Now, this topic of yours will become relevant from the perspective of GS Paper 3 under the category of economy as well as environment. Now, the context of this article is that recently Niti Aayog has proposed to ban the sale of all the three-wheelers post March 2023 which are powered by an internal combustion engine. Further, the Niti Aayog also suggested that all the new two-wheelers below 150cc which are to be sold after March 2025 should be electric. Accordingly, even in the Union Budget of 2019, in order to incentivize people to switch to electric vehicles, the government has proposed a tax deduction of up to 1,50,000 rupees on the interest paid for all the loans which are taken to purchase an electric vehicle. Hence, we can gauge that the Niti Aayog is trying to nudge people to shift to electric vehicles. Let us now discuss the reasons as to why the Niti Aayog or the government is pushing so hard for electric vehicles adoption. The first reason is the climate change and the ever-increasing pollution levels. Now, a study by WHO has stated that India is home to 14 out of 20 the world's most polluted cities. Further, India has also committed under the Paris deal to cut its greenhouse gas emissions intensity by 30 to 35% below the 2005 level by the year 2030. That is to say, by the year 2030, India has said that it will reduce its greenhouse gas emission by almost 30 to 35% of what its emissions were in 2005. The second reason is the advancement which has been made in the renewable energy sector as well as the battery technology. Now, electric vehicle suppliers with clean, low carbon energy at lower cost but with higher energy density. Further, with the advancement in technology, even the batteries for the electric vehicles have become faster charging and long lasting. The third cause is the rapid urbanization. With increase in urbanization, various cities in India, especially Delhi, face the issue of air pollution. Therefore, it is said that electric vehicles can improve the air pollution issue which is plaguing the various cities because it will help to reduce the local concentrations of the pollutants. The third reason is the energy security. By adopting and shifting to electric vehicles, our reliance on fossil fuels as well as their imports will be reduced. Hence, this will also help to strengthen India's energy security and improve its geopolitical dynamics. Therefore, in this regard, the Niti Aayog feels that by adopting a shared and a connected electric mobility, India can cut its energy demand by 64% and carbon emissions by 37%. And in monetary terms, this will help India to save almost 3.9 lakh crores every year. So, having discussed the need for electric vehicles, let us now talk about the various government initiatives to foster or to boost the demand for electric vehicles. Now, the government has come out with the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020. Now, this plan talks about the vision as well as the roadmap for the faster adoption of electric vehicles and even provides ways to increase their manufacturing in the country. Now, as part of this NEMMP, the Department of Heavy Industry has formulated the faster adoption and manufacturing of electric vehicles in India, that is the FAME scheme, in the year 2015, and the main purpose of the scheme is to again promote the manufacturing of electric and hybrid vehicle technology in our country. Now, this FAME scheme has 4 focus areas, namely technology development, demand creation, pilot projects, as well as charging infrastructure. So, the first phase of this FAME scheme was implemented from 2015 to 2019, and now the phase 2 of the FAME is being implemented. Moving ahead, this article is also talking about the reasons why higher costs are involved in electric vehicles. Now it is the drivetrain and the battery packs because of which there is a major difference in the cost between the conventional vehicles and the electric vehicles. Hence, it is the drivetrain and the battery packs which make the most difference. Now, a drivetrain of a motor vehicle is the group of components that deliver power to the driving wheels. Now, though this drivetrain for electric vehicles is much cheaper as compared to the conventional vehicles, because in the drivetrain of electric vehicles, less number of components are used. However, the battery pack, which accounts for almost 35 to 50% of the cost of an electric vehicle, is much more as compared to their cost in conventional vehicle. Therefore, an electric vehicle is costlier than a conventional vehicle because the battery pack of an electric vehicle is much more costly. Now, elaborating further on this cost of the battery pack in electric vehicles. Now, basically, the electric vehicles use lithium ion batteries. Now, in a lithium ion battery, the key components of the battery include the cathode, anode, electrolyte, separator, etc. And all these key components together account for almost 60% of the total cost of the car. Further, in electric vehicle, the cost of labor is comparatively less. So therefore, if the government wants to make electric vehicles as a viable option, both for the manufacturer and for the consumer, the government has to come up with ways to reduce the battery cost in the electric vehicles. And this reduction in the battery cost will only happen when there is a reduction in the raw material cost. Hence, if India can start to manufacture all these raw materials indigenously, then also the cost of the battery would reduce, eventually reducing the cost of an electric vehicle. Nevertheless, we do see a steady decline in the cost of the battery packs from 2010 onwards because there have been technological improvements, higher economies of scale, as well as fierce competition between the manufacturers. Hence, all this has led to a decrease in the cost of the battery packs. However, it is not enough. Much more reduction is required. Lastly, let us talk about what are the challenges which India faces, especially with respect to the cost of the battery packs. Now, as per the data made available by Niti Aayog, almost 79% of the vehicles on Indian roads are basically two-wheelers. Therefore, the focus of the government should be target this segment of vehicles, that is the two-wheelers. And as a bonus point, these two-wheelers also require smaller batteries as compared to the four-wheelers. Now currently, the lithium ion cells are imported in India and then they are assembled into the batteries. Hence, in this regard, what India today requires is to set up an indigenous lithium ion manufacturing unit. Because if India can procure its requirement for lithium ion cells indigenously only, it will drastically reduce the cost of import. However, at the same time, setting up a lithium ion manufacturing unit requires huge capital expenditure. Now, another reason which acts as a challenge when we have to set up a lithium ion manufacturing unit is that India does not have enough lithium or cobalt reserves for manufacturing the lithium ion batteries in country. Therefore, India has to import this raw material. However, this importing of the raw materials for the lithium ion batteries can significantly alter our energy needs, which is very obvious also. Since today the majority of vehicles run on conventional fuel, the largest chunk of India's energy import consists of such conventional energy such as petrol and diesel. However, if India has to shift to electric vehicles, then India would have to start to increase the import of lithium and cobalt and reduce the import of other conventional fuels like petrol and diesel. And then lastly, charging battery packs require electricity. And again in India, 90% of electricity is generated using conventional fuels. Hence, as you can connect the dots, even to charge the battery packs, we require electricity, and this generation of electricity in turn requires conventional fuel like coal. Hence, due to this reason, electric vehicles may not be completely environmental friendly because to meet the needs of electric vehicles, we have to use conventional fuels. So, this was all what this article was basically talking about. With this, let's move on to our next news. This news has been taken from page number 6 of the Sunday magazine and it reads, "Is there life after gigs?" Now the context of this article is that recently the periodic labor force survey has highlighted that the unemployment rate in India has increased to a 45-year high at 6.1%. And this in turn has forced a lot of urban youth to look towards the gig economy as a means to find employment opportunities. And currently, a large number of the urban youth have succeeded to find technology based jobs in companies like Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, etc. Hence, in this regard, we will be talking about what exactly is the gig economy, its impact and challenges in India. Let us first understand what exactly is a gig economy. Now, gig economy refers to a form of economy in which various organizations employ people on contractual and non-permanent basis rather than hiring them as permanent employees. And in the gig economy, a spectrum of professions come, ranging from highly paid to below minimum wage level. Now, gig economy is already very functional and strong in the advanced economy like the US, wherein there are a large number of firms which hire people on a contractual basis for a short duration of time. And now, with the rapid adoption of technology, this trend has also started to slowly gain momentum in India as well. Now, let us have a closer look at the gig economy in India. Now, currently in India, 10 million people are working as freelancers. Now, most of the freelancing work in India is related to the technology-enabled IT sector. And this conclusion can be drawn from the fact that the majority of freelancers in India work on web and mobile development, web designing, internet research, data entry, etc. Further, in the last half of the 2018-19 financial year, almost 13 lakh Indians have joined the gig economy, and this has led to a 30% growth in the gig economy as compared to the first half of the financial year of 2018-19. Hence, in just half year, the gig economy has grown by 30%. Additionally, it is also estimated that out of the total 21 lakh jobs which will be created in the metro cities in 2019-20, 14 lakh jobs out of these 21 lakh jobs will be created in the gig economy. And currently in India, it is the food and e-commerce companies which account for the major share of job creation in the gig economy. Hence, food and e-commerce companies are major employers in the gig economy. Next, let us see what were the reasons that the gig economy has developed in India as well. Now, the first reason which can be attributed for the growth of gig economy is the rapid growth of digital communication. Because in digital communication, the workforce is highly mobile and work can be done from anywhere without any geographical barriers. Secondly, various companies, by shifting to the gig economy, have reduced their operating cost because now the companies are not liable to pay pension and other social security benefits. Thirdly, the gig economy provides the necessary flexibility to the workers wherein they can switch jobs frequently and choose work which suits their area of interest. And the fourth and the last reason is that studies have shown that there is a slowdown in the formal employment creation, and this slowdown in formal employment has boosted the development of the gig economy, which hires people on non-permanent or contractual basis. Next, let us see why India should focus on the development of the gig economy. The first reason is that gig economy can have a positive impact on employment. Because as we know, currently India is witnessing a slowdown and is also facing jobless growth. However, the development of gig economy will help to boost the employment creation in the Indian economy, and this will lead to a better and inclusive growth. And it is not just the urban youth which can find employment in the gig economy. Even rural youth can get gainful employment in the gig economy because the rural youth too is currently facing the problem of disguised unemployment in the agricultural sector. The second reason is that it will help to improve the organizational competitiveness. Now, various firms and companies will be able to rationalize their workforce and reduce their cost because they can hire short-term contractual workers depending upon the amount of work they have. And this in a way will also improve the competitiveness and enhance the efficiency of the firms. Third is the freedom it gives to the workers. Now, as mentioned earlier, gig economy provides the necessary flexibility to the workers because they have the freedom to work as per their convenience with no fixed working hours. Moreover, they can also switch jobs according to their interest if they are unsatisfied with the one at hand. And the fourth reason is that the gig economy can also provide opportunities for women. Now, usually women are discouraged from taking up formal sector jobs because the formal sector demands the women to put in large number of working hours every day. However, since the gig economy provides flexibility, this will enable the women to choose the terms of workplace and the number of working hours according to their own convenience. Hence, this in a way will lead to women empowerment because now higher number of women will be enrolled in such jobs and will become financially independent. So these are the four basic reasons why India should focus on the gig economy. Having discussed this, let's also talk about the concerns and challenges facing gig economy today. Now, the first concern or challenge relating to the gig economy is the non-optimal utilization of the demographic dividend. As you must be knowing, that the current economic survey has pointed to the fact that India will very soon be starting at a demographic dividend stage because more than 50% of India's population will be in the working age group. Hence, the need of the hour is that this section of population, that are the ones in the working age group, such population needs to be skilled and trained so that we can optimally use this demographic dividend to our advantage and to also fuel our economic growth. Because what happened is that though gig economy does provide with employment, however, this employment is very informal in nature. And this informal sector jobs, which the gig economy provides, hinders the optimum utilization of the demographic dividend. The second concern area is the unclear legal framework of the gig economy. Now, the current Indian labour laws do not explicitly consider gig workers. Therefore, various workplace related acts and benefits like the maternity benefit, sexual harassment at workplace, etc., all such laws are very silent or unclear about whether they are applicable to the gig workers or not. The third is the lack of social benefits. Now, as stated earlier, gig workers are non-permanent workers who are hired on contractual basis. And since they are hired on contractual basis, the employers do not give them social benefits. Therefore, unlike their counterpart, that is the permanent employees in the formal sector, the gig economy workers do not have access to social security benefits such as insurance, pension, provident fund, etc. The next is the lack of job security. Now, since in the gig economy people are hired on short-term contractual basis, they can be hired and also fired at any time depending upon the whims and fancies of the employees. And this in a way leads to lack of job security because the worker is unsure whether tomorrow he will have that same job or not. And the fifth challenge is with relation to the management of human resources. Now, usually organizations find it difficult to supervise and manage its gig workers or employees because the nature itself of the gig employment is that it is very geographically distributed. Since in the gig economy, majority of people can work freelance, it becomes difficult for the organization to supervise and manage them. And it is due to this fact that all those companies which require that their workforce or their employees should work in a team and in a collaborative manner, for such companies the gig economy is not really beneficial. So these were the challenges related to gig economy. And with this, we move on to our next article. This news appears on page number 14 and it reads, "A plastic emergency." Now recently, during his Independence Day speech, the Prime Minister of India called for a movement to eliminate single-use plastic in India beginning from the Gandhi Jayanti, that is October 2nd. Hence, in this regard, the author is talking about the plastic waste management in India as well as what are the problems and way forwards to deal with them. Before we look at the points mentioned by the author, let us first talk about the plastic waste management rules of 2016. Now, in the year 2016, the Government of India notified the plastic waste management rules of 2016 and suppressed the earlier plastic waste management and handling rules of 2017. So let us now discuss one by one the various features which have been brought in the management of plastic waste by these rules of 2016. These rules have increased the minimum thickness of plastic carrying bags from 40 to 50 microns and has also stipulated that plastic sheets should be minimum 50 micron thick. Now the government feels that by increasing the thickness of the plastic carry bags and the sheets, there will be almost 20% increase in the cost of plastic bags. Hence, this will counter the tendency of the various retailers and shopkeepers to provide free carry bags, and this in a way will also help to improve the collection of the plastics by the waste pickers. Secondly, these rules have expanded the jurisdiction. Now, earlier, the 2011 rules were applicable only in the municipal areas. However, the 2016 rules have expanded their jurisdiction even to the rural areas because plastic has reached even in the rural area. Further, these rules will now be applicable to every waste generator, local body, gram panchayat, manufacturer, as well as the importer and the producer of plastic. Now, the first major component of these rules is the responsibility it lays on the waste generators. Now, these rules say all the institutional generators of plastic waste have the responsibility to segregate and store the waste generated by them in accordance with the rules specified in accordance with the solid waste management rules. And further, such institutional generators of plastic waste will also hand over this segregated waste to the authorized waste processing or disposal facility. Further, every person who organizes a big event in an open space also has a responsibility, which involves serving food in plastic, also has the responsibility to segregate and manage the plastic waste which is generated during such events. And this too he has to do in accordance with the solid waste management rules. Further, these rules have also brought in what is known as the user fee. So henceforth, all the waste generators shall pay a user fee or a charge which will be specified in the bylaws of these rules. And this user fee will be paid to the local bodies for better plastic waste management, such as better and efficient waste collection, operation of the disposal facility, etc. The next point is related to the collect back system, which imposes a responsibility on the producer, importer, as well as the brand owner. Now, all those producers, importers, as well as the brand owners who introduce plastic carry bags in the market have to establish a system for collecting back the plastic waste generated due to their products within a period of 6 months from the date of publication of these rules. Which basically means that all those people who are responsible for introducing plastic in the market also have the responsibility to establish a system wherein they will collect back this plastic waste which was generated due to their products. Now, such producer, importer, or brand owner shall work out the modalities for waste collection system based on the extended producer's responsibility and will involve the state urban development departments while formulating or establishing a system. Now, here please keep one thing in mind, that the concept of the extended producer's responsibility was introduced way back in the 2011 rules. However, during that time, this extended producer's responsibility for establishment of a waste management system was left at the discretion of the local bodies. So therefore, it is for the first time that the producers, importers and the brand owners have been made responsible for collecting the waste generated from their product. Further, the plan which has been developed by them to collect back the plastic has to be submitted to the state pollution control boards when they are applying for consent to establish or operate or renew their licenses. And it is hoped that the introduction of the collect back system will help to improve the collection of plastic waste, its reuse and recycle. The fifth point talks about the responsibility on the retailers and the street vendors. Now, these rules have specifically said that no retailer or street vendor will sell or provide commodities to consumers in plastic carry bags. And if they do so, then they shall be liable to pay fine for the violation of these rules. However, still for those retailers and street vendors who wish to provide plastic carry bag have to register with a local body and also have to pay a plastic waste management fee of minimum 48,000 rupees per month. Further, the registered shopkeepers shall display at prominent places that the plastic bags which they are providing are given on payment. Further, the money which will be paid by the consumers for the plastic carry bags shall be used by the local bodies to effectively manage the waste management system within their jurisdiction. Further, it is felt that this introduction of provision to collect fee from the producers, importers of plastic bags, as well as the vendors who are selling the same, will strengthen the financial status of the local authorities, which will help to improve the implementation of the plastic waste management systems and the rules. The next is that these rules have spoken about the responsibility of the local bodies and the Gram Panchayat, which is to set up, operationalize, and coordinate the various waste management system and also perform the associated functions such as segregation, collection, as well as the recycle and the reuse of plastic. Further, the rules also lay emphasis on reusing the plastic waste. These rules say that plastic waste can be used for road construction as well as waste to oil and waste to energy initiatives. Lastly, as far as providing land for the waste management facility is concerned, this responsibility has been given to the department with the business allocation of land allotment in the state government. And by this, getting land for waste management facility will become a lot more easier. Now in this article, the author is basically saying that there are few issues with the implementation in the way plastic waste is being managed and implemented. The first is the sheer non-compliance to the plastic waste management rules. Be it the producers, importers, brand owners, or whether it is the street vendors or retailers, etc. None of these people have complied to the rules till now. Secondly, in this article it is mentioned, all the alternatives to plastic have the limitation of either cost or scale. For example, though there are some biodegradable packaging alternatives to plastic, but these biodegradable packaging materials require specific microorganisms if they have to be broken down. Further, even the compostable cups and plates require industrial composters, though there are some varieties of the biodegradable plastic which are easier to recycle, but these are very difficult to be produced at a large scale. Thirdly, it has been found out that since in India there is absence of a certification or a testing facilities, a lot of companies are marketing plastic carry bags as compostable without any certification. Hence, they are making misleading claims with respect to plastic bags. And finally, in the end, the author has suggested certain measures as a way forward. Now, it has been stated that if India really wants to put a ban on single-use plastic items, then they will have to lay down a very comprehensive mechanism to certify the materials which are marketed as alternatives or compostable by the various companies. Further, the priority should be reduce the single-use plastic such as multi-layer packaging, bread bags, food wraps, etc. Hence, in this regard, it is very important to find an alternative to such single-use plastics because many a times the consumers often have no choice than to buy such products which have such single-use plastic. Further, this campaign should also focus on the tested biodegradable and compostable alternative for plastics such as plates, cutlery, cups, etc. And they should also scale up the recycling of the plastic. Further, the city municipal authorities and other local bodies have to participate in this movement with all their vigor and fervor. And lastly, considering the fact that the packaging is projected to grow twofold by 2020, even the packaging industry has to look at innovation and should come out with new materials which can be used as an alternative to plastic packaging. So these were all the basic points related to this article. With this, let's move on to our next news. Now this news appears on page number 15 and reads, Southern oceans could control global climate. So basically this article is talking about how the southern oceans act as a carbon sink. Now a carbon sink is both natural or artificial reservoir that absorbs and stores the atmosphere's carbon with the help of physical and biological mechanisms. Good examples of carbon sinks are the coal, oil, natural gases, methane hydrate, limestone, etc. Now these sinks are storing carbon after long processes and under certain special conditions. And when we try to use such resources which act as a carbon sink, for example the fossils, this re-injects the carbon which they were holding till now back into the atmosphere. Now let us talk about oceans acting as carbon sinks. Now the various biological as well as the physical processes which take place in a marine environment like the ocean are important constituent of the carbon sink because these processes form what is known as the ocean carbon pump. Now the ocean carbon pump has two components, namely a biological pump which basically transfers the surface carbon towards the seabed with the help of the food web, and the second part is the physical pump which results from ocean circulation. Now, as far as the physical pump is concerned, we know that in polar region the water is denser. Hence, the water sinks towards the bottom into the deep sea, and then this deep sea drags down the dissolved carbon dioxide towards the bed of the sea. Further, in high latitude area, the water store carbon dioxide more easily because of low temperatures. Hence, this also facilitates the dissolution of atmospheric carbon dioxide with the water present in the polar or the high altitude region. Now, as far as the biological pump is concerned, in the high seas, that is the open sea, the planktonic ecosystem is a very important player. So basically, all the organic material which reaches the bottom of the seabed has actually, in one way or the other, participated in the biological pump, and in certain special conditions, they also participate in the oil formation. Now, a microscopic alga known as Coccolithophoro contains a lot of calcium, and this Coccolithophoro participates in removing the carbon from the natural cycle. So when these microscopic alga known as Coccolithophoro die, they generate a vertical net flux of carbon. Hence, this carbon which is released on the death of this alga can be stored in the deep sea for long geological periods. Hence, in all, we can say that any healthy coastal ecosystem has a very crucial role to play in the fight against the climate change, because they capture the carbon from the atmosphere and use that carbon for their own development. Another example of this could be the mangroves, the seagrass beds, the salt marshes, etc. All these three, that is the mangroves, seagrasses and salt marshes, store at least 10 times more carbon dioxide than the continental forest. So this was all about this article. With this, let's move on to our next news. Now this next discussion is based on Thayum, which has been given on page number 16 of today's magazine. Now earlier also in the DNS, we have spoken about Thayum in length. So for today, let us revise the previous discussion. This news article has been taken from page number 8 and is in the context of the Kaliyattam art form. From your prelims, it will form a part of History of India under the subtopic of Art and Culture, and even for your mains under GS Paper 1, it will be a part of Indian culture, including the salient aspects of the art forms. Indian art and culture, especially the various art forms including theatre, dance and paintings, have always been a very central part of the UPSC syllabus. After the discussion, we will be discussing few of the previous UPSC questions from the topic of Indian art and culture. Let us know a few things about Kaliyattam. Now the Kaliyattam, which is more commonly known as the Thayum, is a famous ritual folk theatre form from the state of Kerala. The Thayum is usually performed in temples, sacred groves, village shrines as a form of ancestor worship. That is, to honor the spirit of the deceased ancestors. Now the Thayum is usually performed in the northern Kerala, particularly in the district of Kannur and Kasargod. The ritual art form of Kaliyattam or Thayum has the elements of dance, music, drama as well as meme. So do not get confused if it is ever mentioned as Thayum dance, because the theatre does involve dance, music and drama. Next, the performers of the Thayum adorn flamboyant colourful costumes as well as wear heavy elaborate makeup. The Kaliyattam is especially known for its truly majestic headgears, which can be almost 5 to 6 feet in height. Thayum is derived from a Sanskrit word meaning Devam, therefore it is also known as the god's dance. Please remember that Kaliyattam is only performed by men. Further, the Thayum represents a divine or a heroic character, and some of the very famous Thayums are the Rakt Chamundi, Kari Chamundi, Gulikan and Potan. The performers of Thayum usually belong to the caste of Malayan, Vananan and other related tribes and communities. Lastly, you should remember, when Thayum is performed once a year, that is annually, then it is called as Kaliyattam. Therefore, Kaliyattam and Thayum are more or less the same thing. Usually Thayum is performed from the months of December continuing up to the month of April. And if the Thayum is performed after many years, then it is known as Perum Kaliyattam. Now for your additional information, here is a list of folk theatres and the corresponding states. You can have a look at them and probably take a screenshot as well for the future reference. Also, please bear in mind this list is not exhaustive and there can be more folk theatre forms for the other states as well. Now let's move on and discuss the previous year questions related to Indian art and culture. Now, though previously UPSC has not asked a particular question from Indian folk theatre, but questions have always been asked from the folk dances and music. Let us look at some of them. Now, in the year 2014, this question was asked in which we had to match the pairs of the folk dances and the states. So the option were Garba, Gujarat, Mohiniyattam, Odisha, Yakshagana and Karnataka. The right answer to this was 1 and 3. Mohiniyattam, this was wrong because Mohiniyattam is a classical dance form of the state of Kerala and not Odisha. In the same year of 2014, a question was asked on what exactly is Kalari Payattu. The right answer to this was D. It is an ancient martial art and living tradition in some part of South India, especially in the state of Tamil Nadu and among some Malayali communities of Malaysia also. In the year 2017, a question was asked with reference to Manipuri Sankirtana, and the right answer to this was B, 1 and 3. That is, it is a song and dance performance and is also performed to narrate the life and deeds of Lord Krishna. So thus this would give you an idea as to what kind of questions UPSC asks related to art forms and the culture of the Indian. Now based on our today's discussion, here is your prelims practice question. Please pause the video and solve them. We'll discuss the answer after 5 seconds. The first question is with respect to the plastic waste management rules of 2016. The first, it is applicable only to the urban areas. Now this is incorrect. These rules are applicable even to the rural areas. Second, it introduced extended producer's responsibility for the first time. Now this is incorrect. The extended producer's responsibility was introduced for the first time with the plastic waste management and handling rules of 2011. Therefore, the right answer becomes D, neither 1 nor 2. The next question is asking which of the following are correct about Theyyam. The first, it is associated with the state of Kerala. This is right. Second, it is related to ancestral worship. This is also correct. Hence, the right answer is C, both 1 and 2. Question number 3 is with respect to carbon sinks. The first, only natural reservoirs which absorb carbon are called as carbon sinks. Now, this is incorrect. Carbon sinks can also include any kind of artificial reservoir which is capable of absorbing carbon. Second statement, coal is an example of carbon sink. This is correct. Hence, the right answer becomes B, 2 only. Question number 4 is giving us 3 pairs and we have to identify the ones which are correctly matched. The first, Yakshagana in Karnataka. This is correct. Second, Tamasha in Madhya Pradesh. This is incorrect. Tamasha is the folk theatre of Maharashtra. Third, March in West Bengal. This is incorrect. March is the folk theatre of Madhya Pradesh and not West Bengal. Therefore, the right answer to this is A, 1 only. With this, we come to an end for today's discussion. Let's move to the question for the day.